And this school has teachers who are certified to basically restrain you. It's kind of like one of those schools where if you're acting up, the teachers have the authority to restrain you if they feel you're being unsafe. I felt if people kind of looked at me a different way because I
Mm.
went to this alternate school, and people were like, "Oh, this kid is, this guy's got anger management problems. This guy's got everything. I don't want to be associated with him."
Mm.
So I really never made any real friends.
What is up, everybody? And welcome back to the Schooling Struggle Podcast. It is our belief that the only guarantee in life is that we are all going to struggle. And how we choose to embrace our struggles is what empowers us to become the best versions of ourselves. How's it going? My name is Pete, coming to you from Heartland, Vermont, and back in action with me after 2 weeks in the Midwest is my friend and co-host, Mr. Todd Ellis. What's up, Todd?
Not much, Peter. How you doing? Long time no see.
Yeah. You see some friends and some family out there in the Midwest?
Check those two right off there. Yep, got that.
All this free time with no work. You're doing some great stuff with your time. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. What have you been up to?
School starts tomorrow. Ready to rock and roll.
All right. And that's
a great summer, some traveling, spending time with the family. I built some strength a little bit. So
Nice.
Ready to get back after it. I absolutely love my students, and I'm ready to hang out with them again.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah. So speaking of my students, I have really been looking forward to having this conversation for a while, and logistically making it happen to talk with one of my former students who's on with us tonight. And his name is Cean Lieberman, and he is incredibly close to my heart. And before I bring Cean on to introduce himself and talk about what we're going to talk about tonight, let me provide a backstory for the first time that I met Cean. It was my very first week at my new job at Hartford High School. So I taught at the elementary. It's called Heartland Elementary School, but it was really K-8 school. I taught K-8 for 12 years. And then I decided to make a switch and teach high school 6 years ago. In the very first week of school, I was assigned to bus duty. And you get bus duty 2 weeks a year. And one of my 2 weeks was the first week. And I had to hang out outside the school building and make sure that any kid that was looking to get on a bus got on the right bus, and just to see off the buses and that the kids were safe getting on the buses. And as I was on bus duty, there was a new freshman. I was new as well, who was making his way around outside. And there's no other way to put it, just starting trouble, just pushing people around, getting in people's faces. And what's funny is right after that bus duty, I had a meeting, and some of the teachers at the meeting said, the first day went well, but I'm a little nervous about this kid, Cean. And I said, "Oh, is that the kid that was just out of bus duty causing trouble?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I just thought to myself, I didn't say it at the meeting at the time. I didn't know my colleagues well enough, but I just thought, that kid, he just needs my love. So I decided at that moment that Cean was going to get mass amounts of my love. And he got lots of big, heavy hugs on a very regular basis. And he and I became very, very close, very, very quick. And when I was having rough days, I always look forward to spending time with him. And I think the same can be said vice versa. But I have a really deep connection with Cean, and I'm going to let him tell some of his story. But I know that school was not an easy place for you, Todd, nor was it in any capacity for Cean, particularly in the first 2 years of high school. Both of you have similar challenges with your neurodiversity, which I'm excited to dig into tonight. But before I go any further, I want to introduce Cean Lieberman to the show. What's up, brother?
What is going on, Mr. D?
Hey, it's so nice to have you on the show finally.
I'm excited, yeah. I've been waiting for this.
We've been trying to line this up for a bunch of weeks, and then we've had a bunch of tech issues tonight getting into it. But you are here, Todd's here, I'm here, and I'm ready to go.
Me too.
So before we get into the conversation, I would love for you to share with the listeners anything you feel would be beneficial for the listeners to know about you to kind of set the context for our conversation tonight.
Yeah, so I'm 19 years old. I am from a town also in the Hartford School District called Quechee, Vermont. If the listeners are from Vermont, New Hampshire, you guys will know the famous Quechee Gorge. That's right down the road from my house. Graduated high school last year. Sports is a big part of my family, especially when it comes to, whether it is bowling, basketball. My sister was a basketball star. My dad, multi-sport athlete, baseball, football. He taught me how to bowl. Sports runs in my family, pretty much.
But when you graduated last year, you were the owner of a couple bowling records, but there was one significant record that you had, right? What
Yeah,
was that?
so
What was that record?
I still currently to this day hold 2 Vermont state records. One, the highest 2-game series in the state of Vermont. That day I shot a 267 and a 278 for a 545 series. I broke the previous state record by 5 pins. The second state record, which I currently hold, is the highest. I had to look over at my plaque wall for a minute. I hold the highest season average, which I believe is 230, 232.
As a listener of the show, I know that you are in tune with the theme of the show. Exactly how I lead off every show is our struggle is our guarantee. And what I'm really excited for you to come on and share with us tonight is some of the ways that you are navigating your struggles. Todd and I call it BYOS, bring your own struggle. So before we get into our conversation about that, I see Todd leaning toward the mic. He wants to get in and ask a question. So what's up?
I have so many questions, just like I always do. But let's see where Sean wants to take it. I think we talk the same language, Sean and I. So let's see what bring your struggle. Let's talk about it. How about that? If you have one,
Sean, let me take you. Can you take us back to, and you can go briefly. You don't have to go too in depth, but how school went for you back in the elementary years and kind of where it started. And I'd like to ask people like when you started to notice that the way you learned was different than the people around you.
Yeah, so that's actually perfect. I guess where it really all started was elementary school. I wasn't exactly the best kid in elementary school. I actually ended up getting kicked out of the Ottaquiche school and moved to I guess you could consider it a private school, but it's a school for kids who have bad behavior and they can't handle your normal elementary school or middle school.
So is it safe to say it's an alternative school for students have been deemed
Yeah,
the general populace is not the best setting for them? Is that the
yeah,
kind of
and
political correct way to say it?
yeah,
Okay.
and this school has teachers who are certified to basically restrain you. It's kind of like one of those schools where if you're acting up, the teachers have the authority to restrain you if they feel you're being unsafe. So I went there from the middle of second grade and didn't actually end up going back to a public school until the middle of seventh grade, which then I transferred back to the Hartford Memorial Middle School. And even from then, it wasn't the easiest of roads. I was getting suspended to actually moving the rest of my seventh grade year to I only went half days. So I only went in the mornings, and then I had a parent come pick me up in the afternoon. And then eighth grade was a little bit of the same, but I think it started off, if I remember, I think it started off as half days. And then gradually, as they saw my behavior improve, we tried to go back to full days. Honestly, I wouldn't have made it through middle school without the help of one person. And I don't know if he listens to these, but it's Mr. Grant Whiteway. I don't want to give all props to him, but all props go to him.
Nice.
I do know Grant. He's an exceptional human being. Before we go any further, let's dig in a little bit to some of the challenges and struggles you were facing during those years that you just talked about. Todd, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering when you say you got kicked out of elementary school in second grade, like what was? How do I want to state this? Was it because of like your parent intervention? Obviously, your parents were probably involved somewhat, right? Or was it just the school? Like we, like we can't handle this kid. He's got to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it was. I believe I don't really remember too much, but I believe it was a mixture of both the school and my parents. Because obviously every parent wants their kid to be successful,
Yeah,
and so it was kind of one of those of like my parents are like, we want our kid to be successful,
yeah,
and if it wasn't for me going to that alternate school, I honestly couldn't tell you to this day where I'd be.
yeah. That's cool. And what if you don't mind answering the question? Like, oh, Peter didn't tell you this, but maybe he did. If you don't feel like answering any question, just say I don't want to answer that question, and we can just move along. If you choose to disclose when were you diagnosed with ADHD?
That's a very good question, and to be honest, I don't know.
Mm. So like in second grade, you weren't taking medication for behavior problems. It was just you have behavior problems.
I've always taken medication.
Okay. So
And
from a very early.
I've tried just about every single medication
Yeah.
that you can imagine,
Okay.
and nothing really seemed to work throughout those years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it was also part of the reason why I was the way I was, because I was trying medicine after medicine after medicine because nothing would work.
Yeah.
Todd, are you chuckling because you can relate?
It's almost like watching a movie of my own life. It's crazy. Like, I don't know if we ever talked about this, Peter, but my parents sent me. It wasn't as early as second grade, but it was pretty early too. A school that's similar to what you're talking about, where nobody want like it's a land of misfit kids, right? And I remember being there and thinking, how bad can I be at a school like this? Like, because all the other kids are already bad. It's like going to prison. You're like, am I the toughest criminal or am I just like a low level criminal? And I remember it was like a challenge, and just hearing you tell this story, it's like, oh, they can actually go ahead and like restrain you. That just seems so odd to me now, but I totally know exactly. I don't know exactly how you felt, but yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So keep going. Go ahead.
But no, honestly, like just from jumping from medication to medication wasn't exactly the best thing for me because one time I'll be on a medicine, we think it would work, months after go back, parents tell them it's not working, and then they're like, "Oh, let's try this." And that doesn't work. And so it's just flip-flopping.
Yeah.
So, Sean, when you say a medicine doesn't work, what is it that you're referring to? Is it like your behavior isn't changing at all, or your
Yeah,
focus in class isn't changed? Like, what does does not work mean in this
it's
context?
it's both. My behavior and my focus inside and outside of the classroom. And inside and outside of school too. Not just in the classroom. Like I'd notice myself struggle even when I got home. I'd struggle myself, hard to focus. If I had homeworks due, I would know that, or I would notice myself struggle to do my homework, struggle to sit still, which I
Did it
still do.
did did it impact you socially? Like you had a hard time
Yes.
meeting, keeping, and maintaining friendships?
Very much so. Growing up, I really had no friends. The only friends I really made was middle school. And even then, people were like, I felt people kind of looked at me a different way because I
Mm.
went to this alternate school. And people were like, oh, this kid is, this guy's got anger management problems. This guy's got everything. I don't want to be associated with him.
Mm.
So I really never made any real friends
Yeah.
until I got to middle school.
Those was it the kids themselves that didn't want to befriend you, or was it like their parents, or a mixture of the things? Like obviously you had this label, right? Now you're carrying this thing all around, and they're like, "Oh, that kid's a loose cannon. We don't want to be."
I don't think it was much so about the parents. I think it was just more so about the kids. But I could be completely wrong. These kids could have went home and saw me in the hall, and they could have said, "There's this new kid. He's completely out of control." And the parents could have said, "Well, I want you to stay away from him." Da da da.
Yeah, right. When you say
Which,
out of
yeah,
control, like you said, you notice yourself like these attributes of your behavior, or like I can't control, I can't I can't think, I don't want to study, I don't want to do these things. Were you actively an ass, or was that just like a residual of the behavioral problems? Like you had no understanding of how to rein that in.
I would say a little bit of both because there are some things. It was weird because there were some things even with everything going on that I was still able to process and I was still able to physically do.
Hmm.
But like certain things, if you told me to write something, I would have a hard time with it. If you told me to take notes on a sheet of paper, I would struggle because I'm more of a visual learner. I need to see what's actually going on. But certain things like, for example, math. I was really good at math, and I still am. If my teacher gave me a full sheet of math, I would be able to do it in less time than a normal
Yeah.
kid could. I'm just so good with math for some odd reason, but other things I can't. I have a hard time doing.
Yeah.
My
So
perspective on that day with bus duty, Todd, to kind
yeah.
of answer your question, was
Hmm.
seeing a kid, and Sean is a tall, well built. He's a thick, sturdy dude, and I just saw this kid. That the way that I would describe it was he was just really just socially he was just getting in his own way. So there'd be a group of kids kind of standing in a a clump, maybe 3 or 4 or 5, kind of standing in a circle, socializing, like waiting for the buses, and he would just like walk up to the group and just start like hollering and literally get in the face of a kid in the group like 6 inches away, like "What's up, bro?" Like blah 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 blah, like truly like getting in the face.
Mm.
So I always see that as someone that's in need of something. That's kind of how I view it. But I could see how people, especially other ninth graders, could look at and say,
That's
"Yeah,
too much.
he's being an ass." Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and we can get into high school in a little bit later down the conversation, but early high school was definitely a culmination of fights, disagreements, internal and external suspensions. the early years in high school were not super smooth either.
Yeah. Based on what you saw, Peter, at the bus stop, and like I think you mentioned something about the other teachers, were making these remarks. I'm often curious about like the attitude of educators when it comes to children that are tough. And it kind of goes back to the question, like, did they just kick you out and they just don't want to deal with you? Or is it more of a, we try to come up with a plan? I mean, your plan was, I'm just going to love the hell out of this kid, but the other teachers were like, whoa. So is that like something that's changed, or is that?
No, at that time I was brought into the school to help be on an alternative team to help meet the needs of learners whose traditional traditional path wasn't going to work. So when I'm saying educators were showing concern for him, it wasn't any of my colleagues saying negative things about him or bad mouthing him. We were in a meeting putting together a constructive plan to help him.
The focus is that. Okay.
Was so it's like, what does Sean need? What can we get Sean? And many of those things manifested over high school. He got credit for doing landscaping on the campus. Not sitting in class listening to a teacher talk. He was out weed whacking and doing things. And he forged really deep connections with many of the people on that team that I was on that day.
Cool.
So I'm not just saying this to make like the people in my school community feel better. It's the honest truth that I feel that the people I work with at that school, they are what we call kid-centered or kid-focused. Like they really want what's best for these kids.
And why is that not the standard? I'm curious.
I've only worked in one high school, but from what I hear, what we do is very different than many other places.
Oh, and this is the high school you work at now?
Correct.
Oh, cool. I thought that all the Vermont high schools were like that.
If only.
Yeah, right. So it sounds like, Sean, and correct me if I'm wrong, my experience has been like, if I'm not interested in it, it's quickly going to fizzle and then I'm on to the next thing. So like you said with math, like give me all the math problems in the world and that just keeps me interested. So then I'll learn that, or landscaping or whatever it is as an alternative to sitting and listening to somebody drone about grammar or some such, right?
Yeah.
So have you, and I don't know if this deviates from the whole thing, if it does, Peter, you can bring it back, but have you found that the success later in high school or currently or later after you started getting out of trouble, let's say, or out of those complications, was based on your ability to focus or have focus placed on the things that you found interesting?
I would say yes, because like Mr. D said, I think it was my sophomore year, maybe late freshman year. I started doing, it was like not like really like a job, but it was kind of like to get me out, like to get me out. So I would do, I think it was like 2 classes in the morning, and then I would go out for, I think for the remainder of the day and just do, weed whacking or whatever was thrown to me.
So at our school, the kind of the saying is, if there's 100 kids, we want to offer 100 tracks. So gone are the days where you had a track of kids that were going to college and a track of kids that were going to the workforce. Back then there were 2 tracks. Now it's like if we have 500 kids in the school, so we want to have 500 tracks. So people that were on Sean's team, adults, suggested we have an option in our school called Work for Credit, where you can go to a job, get paid, and still get school credit for that. There's some other, your boss has to be in touch with the school. There's some other things that you do, but essentially the buildings and grounds crew boss was contacted on Sean's behalf, and that was how that was set up. So that's just one example.
Wow.
Yeah, no, and that was probably the best thing for me. That was
other than taking a fitness class every semester for 4 years.
Obviously. Obviously,
so
like
cool.
that was the best part of my high school was fitness. Honestly, it was no joke.
Yeah. But again, it's interest based, right? Like you love it. So what's not to love about going there? That's what I find so interesting. And I didn't know that so this high school that is it Heartland High School? Is that this high school? Hartford. Yes. Sorry.
Heartland is the town that I live in. Hartford is the town that I teach in.
There you go.
Hartford.
But this high school is just a regular high school. It's just that they have a different approach to education in a way.
I think the philosophy of education of our administration is tremendous. It's very, very closely aligned with what I feel education should be.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
And there's more and more individualized pathways that are being carved through that school with all sorts of, I don't even like to use the word alternative because it's what school should be in my opinion. So
bottle that up and bring that over here or everywhere. Take that everywhere.
And it's not just for the quote unquote like behavior kids. Like we had a kid who recently graduated and had a super interest in astrology and for the first time ever located a new planet. And that project was started, but they were in high school at Harvard High School.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So then high
Yeah.
school, how does high school go? So you're getting in trouble up into, what is high school, 9th through 12th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how'd those years go?
Like Mr. D said in the beginning, ninth grade was I would say honestly an absolute wreck. An absolute wreck. I almost I almost got expelled my freshman year. But luckily I feel like without these two also I would have gotten expelled. Honestly, I can't give enough thanks to Mr. Fogg, Mr. Gardner, and even Mr. Marino. Because I think
Those are, for context, those are 3 principals at our
yeah,
school.
Cool. 3.
yeah.
Wow.
I was really close with all three of them.
Mr. Fogg's the head principal, and then we have 2 assistant principals.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then Marino's also part of the athletic directing department. But honestly, I feel like those three pushed. I feel like they went out of their way to keep me in high school because I think I think that they saw potential in me that I could graduate. So honestly, if it wasn't for them, I got to give thanks to them. Even though I've said it to them the day I graduated, I said I can't give enough thanks to you guys. My parents have thanked them multiple times on multiple occasions for putting up with me. It's hard to do. I I wouldn't even want to be in charge of myself. If I was in
Well, you're
charge of
gonna have
myself,
to.
I don't know. I know.
I
Now
think
I
that
have
could
to.
be that could be some of the challenge right there.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, it is definitely.
This is where I think our paths deviate, and I didn't even know. Thank you for sharing all that, Peter and Sean too. My life, I saw myself as being in a conventional high school with none of those outs, and like I had no other way to go. So it was just like I got to get out of here, or I mean, nothing positive will happen here anyway, so I should just leave. And then that's how I entered the rest of my life. But it
So,
sounds like
so Sean, when he says he needs to get out, he means he dropped out of school.
yeah, like I had to get.
He left school.
What's the point of being here? Like I would get stoned and go to lunch and see my friends and then just go run off and do whatever I want to do the rest of the day. And my parents were there, but they didn't know what to do either because the only option was conformity to the school district that I lived in. And if you didn't want to fit in, or if you didn't find it interesting or you weren't working there, what else are you going to do? I mean, all you had to do is go find a job, right? And so that's where it's different for me. And I think it's really cool that I think a lot of things are cool. I think the best thing that's cool is that you openly accept and give gratitude for the things that people have done for you that you recognize has been a part of your success. And I think the other thing that's cool is that the school, I don't know if it's a magical place or if it's constructed that way, but it doesn't even matter. It functions as a place to support kids to do better than what a typical school would hope to produce. And I think that's exactly what should be necessary for people to, exceed in life. I think that's so awesome. So, yeah.
I see one of Sean's strengths is he shines in positive relationships, and I think most humans do.
Sure.
But what I learned about my relationship with him was it wasn't just a give on my end, and for some of those kids who are struggling in school, that's what it needs to be for the educators in their life in order for the kids to succeed. But Sean was always willing to give back. So forging relationships, he's clearly come a long way because he struggled with that early on, and I think in some ways it's still not always an easy thing, but that's where my connection with him where the foundation was forged was he was just giving to me like, hey, Mr. D, just I see you're down a little bit today, just wanted to let you know I'm here and everything's gonna be all right. And
That's
a lot of
awesome.
students don't do that, which is not their job. That they're not supposed to do that. That's not why they're in the school, know. But Sean went above and beyond that way. But I know that school was a really, really tough place for him, and he did make it through. And the kid that graduated as an 18-year-old was a very, very different person to be around than the 14-year-old that I met. He came a long way, and I think when I was talking about the first day that I met him, I think the best way to describe it is he lacked situational awareness. And his level of situational awareness really improved over the 4 years. And he was also willing to hear if he lacked situational awareness. And we said, yo, like when you're in this type of situation, you can handle yourself this way. If you're at a football game and a kid comes up to you and starts trouble, there's a way to handle that. That's not going to get you kicked out of the football game.
Yeah.
But you have to handle yourself that way. And that's a place that he struggled. And it's funny when I think about the fact that he's on this episode tonight, and when I post this on the school Instagram, how many kids are going to look at that and be like, yo, of all people, Cean Lieberman's on Mr. D's podcast?
Yeah.
Like that was a dude that was always getting in trouble. Like how come the valedictorians and the salutatorians aren't on his podcast? And it's because Sean is willing to open up and be vulnerable about his struggles.
That's awesome.
Which is kind of where I want to take the next stage of this conversation Is there anything else, Todd, from your end before we
No,
move on?
let's rock.
So when Sean said, what do you want me to talk about on the podcast? I said, I'd like for you to share some of your past struggles, which we just went through. And then I'd love for you to kind of share with us what it is you're struggling with now. Like, what are you trying to navigate right now in your life that we can kind of dig deep into?
Probably the main thing right now that I'm more so trying to focus and trying to get my life together on is whether or not I want to go to college or whether or not I want to stay home and find a full time job and work for the rest of my life. Right now, I don't, I know I've been out of high school for a year. I think I'm leaning more towards the college section just because, for the matter of fact, of I just want to get away. I mean, it's not a bad thing that I'm here, but sometimes, especially at my house, with having I live with my two grandparents, me and my mom and her fiance, and for 5 people in a 3 bedroom house, I feel like it's just a little too much. So if I can go to college and possibly learn something in the outside world, I know exactly what I want to study.
What is that?
So I want to go to VTC up in Randolph, Vermont. I
I don't
know
know.
you're familiar with it, Mr. D.
Vermont Technical College.
Yeah.
Yep. And so my uncle actually went there, and they have one of the best natural resource programs. And in high school, I actually, at the Hartford Area Career Technology Center, I took natural resources for 2 years. And so I know how to run chainsaws, I know how to run bulldozers, tractors, excavators, and I guess they're the best that they have around, at least in Vermont. So I really want to go there and try to extend my career in something like that.
That's awesome.
So it's interesting to me. You graduated a year ago, and Sean and I are in touch regularly. And from the outside looking in, it looks like school was a real challenge for you at some point. And you expressed this to me very frequently, especially on the days and weeks before graduation, is how much you felt valued and loved at the school. And when you were going to graduate, you didn't know what you're going to do once those kind of relationships were going to be severed upon graduation day. And I know it hasn't been easier for you in the last year, and I know that you've been through a number of jobs. I don't know how many, 3, 4, 5, something like that.
Somewhere around there.
And finding a job and sticking with it has been a challenge, and maybe that's the impetus to think about maybe going to school. But that situational awareness, whether it's in school or in work, and treating people a certain way and carrying yourself a certain way in certain situations, is continuing to be a struggle. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct. I've started to notice it actually pretty recently. Just because most of the time I just feel not really helpless, but I just feel lonely, and not having the people in my life at school was a big struggle, and I still wish to this day I could hit rewind and go back to high school. Not a lot of people can say that, but I definitely can.
Yeah, and you never in a million years would have bet that you'd say that when you were in, 9th or 10th grade, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah, no. Ninth,
yeah,
ninth or 10th grade Sean would be like, just get me out of here.
yeah.
But now it's like I care too much for people.
What are the attributes of the people you miss that you feel like you struggle finding in others? Is that fair? I don't know if that's
I would say I wish there was more people like Mr. D. Honestly, just I honestly miss him because like he said, we developed such a quick relationship. It was pretty instant. From like the first day I met him, it's like we instantly clicked, and that's I think you're the one I miss the most. I'm just being hands down honest. Like seeing you every day, I would always come home, tell my parents about you. Like you were the best part of my day. And if my mom was on this podcast, she would tell you the exact same thing. He would always come home and tell me, Mr. D, Mr. D, Mr. D, Mr. D this, Mr. D that.
so. If you
That's
go to away to school, how are you going to overcome that? Or like, what are some ways you think you might get around that just by keeping busy at school?
well, yeah, so just keeping busy, and I have some of the cards that he's wrote me. So bringing those to my dorm with me if I ever get in a dorm, and just having the positive notes that he's written me over the years, and all the thank you letters and all the this and that. Just having everything in my dorm, and whenever I'm having a hard day, look over at that and be like, I'm gonna finish this 4 page essay for you, or
Mm.
I'm gonna get up and go to class tomorrow because you motivate me to be the best version of myself, which he strives and will repeat every single day until the day he dies to be the best versions of ourselves.
It's It's incredibly flattering for you to say that, Sean. It kind of puts me in an odd position in this podcast because I'm kind of the host, and you just showered me with all that, and I'm grateful for that. But I'm going to continue to challenge you and say, so the people who you're closest with, and the example you just gave is me, so let's roll with that one. What is it that I brought to your life that improved the quality of your life? And how can you take what you've learned from our relationship and apply it to your relationships going forward? And I'm not asking for you to give an answer, but I'm saying that's where I'm going to challenge you to take your mindset is, and that's what I'm working on is this person made me feel this way, whether they made me feel like crap or they made me feel like the top of the world. What was it about what they said or did? And how can I learn from this and then apply it to my life going forward? And that's something that I would love for the listeners to take away from this episode is the people that are fountains that fill us up. What are they doing? And how can I be that to some people? And what are the drains doing that are draining me out? And how can I try to avoid that? And that's just something to think about going forward.
Yeah. I think that to build on that, and you kind of touched on it at the last point, the thing that appeared in my mind was what's worked for me is I used to do that all the time. Like, what are these people taken? Or what have I taken from this opportunity? Or what have I gleaned from these people that I can look back on, Sean, like you're saying, like, oh, I have this book of awesome things that, I can say that I can do this for you, like to pay you back. And that only carried me so far. It wasn't until I was able to say, what can I take from that lesson? And then what can I evolve that to be that to somebody else? So how can you be Mr. D to somebody else? That will be the way that pushes you potentially towards finding somebody else that because Mr. D is not going to be there forever. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
if you're always wanting to stay in an environment where you feel nurtured or supported by those people, how can you be that to somebody else? And I think
Yeah.
that's what helps us grow. I've seen Peter do that too. And I wasn't until I noticed that I was like, wow, I don't need to have all those people around me. I can just carry them forward and then, do what I saw them do for somebody else. And I think might be a way
Yeah,
to look at
I
it.
agree. I agree 100%. I just got to figure out, yeah, like,
Yeah.
like you both said, I just got to figure out that, I guess it's kind of that line of where what he taught me, and then, how can I be that way, and then kind of just meet in the middle and, apply that to, I feel like whether it's a friend or a significant other or even a sibling, I feel like if I can apply something that he taught me and take it from me, put it in the middle, if I can apply that to someone that means a lot to me in my life other than Mr. D. And if I can do that constantly for years and years and years, I feel like I'm not going to have any problem in the future making friends or keeping friends.
Yeah. I think that's a great outlook to have.
Sometimes when I feel down, stuck, or in a rut, it's like I'm just not feeling great about who I am and where I am and what I'm doing. The easiest place for me to start is just go do something kind for someone.
Yeah.
It's not like go physically walk into town and help someone carry a bag, but it's just like send a text of gratitude. Very well could be.
Yeah.
Send a text of gratitude. Give someone a call. Like those types of things. And Todd and I have talked about many times in the show that those work for us. Yeah. So yeah, just some tactical takeaways.
One of my favorite things. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
Todd.
I was going to say one of my favorite things that I do that is like the apex of that is I used to drive back and forth to work a ridiculous amount of miles, and when people were pulled over on the side of the road, like flat tire, no shot she's going to want to get out of this, on the side of the freeway at 4:00 in the morning, change your tire. I would stop and be like, hey, do you need some help? Can I change your tire? And it just makes you feel so good and just blows them away. But it's riding that edge of fear, like, oh, I shouldn't stop, somebody else will do it. And that's where I find that it has the most power is when you're whatever it is in your mind says, yeah, that's going to look silly, or I shouldn't do that, somebody else take care of it. When you do it, like, that's the thing, that's where you're channeling somebody else that's had an impact on your life, because you're going to carry that same back forward.
And I also feel like people nowadays also don't see, not really like the potential, but I feel like people don't see the good in people.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I feel like the good in people is very underlooked.
Ooh.
And underlooked is a very good word for me.
Yeah, I like that word. I've never heard it before, and I like it.
Yeah, I mean, that statement right there is a whole different episode in and of itself. Like,
sure.
The culture of hate and all these things for sure. But for me, it's like, what is within my control? What can I do in this moment?
Yeah.
And I even now, I send texts to everyone. I still keep in touch with my dad. I message him from time to time. I actually spoke with him on the phone earlier for about an hour.
Nice.
Just catching up and everything, just seeing how he was doing. We talked about this upcoming bowling season because we bowl in the same nights together. Talking about he always used to bring me to bowling and from bowling last year. So just kind of talking with him and being like, hey, are you still going to be able to do this and this? Before bowling, we would go out to dinner. And I'm hoping to have a job by then, so that way I can kind of return the favor. Instead of him paying, I can pay. Even though he's my dad, and as long as he has money, I'm going to take advantage of it. But that's the point. That's not the point.
Watch the shoulds.
Yeah, watch.
I'm glad my dad doesn't listen to these, because he would hammer me.
Todd is known for saying, we better be careful or we're going to should all over the place.
Don't go shitting all over the place.
So
I like that.
Something I noticed about Sean is that when there's an unknown, that seems to give him a little bit of angst. When he knows the routine, the ritual, the plan, the expectation, he finds comfort there and he executes at a higher level than if there's just a bunch of unknowns. Mm-hmm. Do you find that with your diagnosis? Is that something that challenges you as well?
It depends where it is. Like, I've struggled a lot with ambiguity. Like, if I don't understand the expectation, like especially in work or school would be the same. If I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing, then I'll flounder, and it's just like, and then I'll just quit. Like, if you're not going to tell me what I'm supposed to be doing, I have no way to gauge if I'm being efficient or even going in the right direction. So if I don't have that and I can't get that, then I'll disappear. But in other ways, like, and I think it comes with age and experience and potentially, the privilege of having money and all these other things. But like, if you start your own business, it's very fun to be on the other side of that, because all the unknowns are like opportunities to go learn something new. So depending how you look at it and the mindset you're in, or the space you're in, I guess, physically, or like your age wise or whatever, those things, they flip-flop for me. I went back to college once and it was just like being in math class in high school again. And I was like, I cannot, it just drove me nuts. I was like, why can I not do this? Why? I thought it would be so great. But so certain things take me back to a point where I dislike it greatly, but sometimes the contrast of that is I can learn the things that I have never known before in a safe and exhilarating way to pull me through it, if that makes any sense.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. It's so funny because Ian's like a pro bowler. You're a pro bowler. You remind me so much of my youngest son. It's just amazing. He moved away to go do some new things, and he was scared as hell. But yeah, I think it's a lot of life, like Peter, you moved away, did all these crazy things, lived in the van, rode across the country. But I mean, nobody expects you to do that. You did it. You learned something from it. It was scary probably, but here we are. Right. And I think, kind of like Sean was saying, a lot of people just don't. It's underwhelming to a lot of people to do something like that, and then when you begin to do it, it exercises that muscle, and it makes it even cooler and cooler every time you do it. So, yeah, time flies.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was really looking forward to bringing the two of you together to have this conversation, because so much that you have in common, and obviously that rang true with your comments, Todd.
Yeah, I could talk for days. Yeah, if you ever need to talk anything out, let me know. Peter can give you my info, but I'm always available to chat with.
It's fun. It's good to meet someone that's actually like me.
Yeah, it is.
It has like the same energy, I guess, as me.
Yeah.
Sean has a special place in my heart, and I'm so psyched that he was able to persevere through the challenges of high school and get that diploma. That was awesome.
Yeah, just a milestone. Keep cracking. You're not done by far.
Yeah.
Not even remotely close. I'm just getting started by the looks of it.
Yeah, good.
Just getting started.
Hopefully it always looks like you're getting started.
Hopefully, but I don't know if it will. I don't know if it will, but
if
only life was that easy.
Yeah, true.
Thank you so much for coming on, Sean. And to all the listeners out there, just a kind reminder, schoolingstruggle@gmail.com. That is where you are encouraged to leave feedback, give ideas, thoughts, perspectives, anything that you want us to know about your listening experience. We're incredibly grateful for our family of listeners out there. It's really cool to look at the analytics and see y'all downloading episodes and doing your thing and connecting with the show. And I don't say our family of listeners lightly. I feel like we're not trying to grow the show. We're just trying to really provide a cool experience for our tight-knit family listeners. So thank you so much for your ears. We are incredibly grateful for your attention, and we thank you for your time. With that said, on behalf of my boy Sean, my co-host Todd Ellis, we are the Schooling Struggle Podcast. We are out. See ya.